Welcome to our Wednesday night live stream. We're so glad that you could join us this evening. We're sorry we're starting a little bit late. We've been doing some taping tonight with the ladies. And for our gathering tonight and discussion, we've got some ladies in the house. Miss Jessie, Miss Sam, Miss Ebony, and this one right here, yours truly, just Mrs. Gorgeous, is with us tonight. And we're going to talk through some things. We're in a series we're calling Emotionality. We're talking through human emotions, how they compare to the life of Christ. And so we're just going to dive right in and spend a little time together. Okay. So we've been talking about human emotion. How much self-control do you think you have over your emotions?
None.
So honest. I got nothing.
I got nothing.
I got nothing.
I mean, I try so hard, but
Yeah.
most
What's
of the
the
time I
What's
got
the
nothing.
hardest emotion to control?
Anger,
Anger?
frustration.
It's not not sorrow, not depression, not
No,
not
I got all that in a
worry,
bag.
Not
Yeah.
women
No.
are just angry people.
Yes.
Y'all just some angry people.
Right, the frustration. My frustration gets on another level that I just lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
When it's certain,
It's daily.
what you said, the shrapnel,
Yeah.
you know, so.
When
where
you
it's-
blow, the shrapnel of that blowing hits
and
everybody
then
else.
it hits everybody, and then they have to deal with the scars that you gave.
Yeah.
And then until you do it again.
Yeah.
There's more scars.
Yeah.
So that was
It's just,
deep.
Oh.
I know.
I mean, that was a guilt one, huh?
yeah, that just
Guilt.
makes it
Too
feel
much guilt, right?
so much worse.
It's like hellfire and brimstone stuff, like an old Baptist preacher in
Gosh
here.
almighty.
Just firing it up,
That was
huh?
rough. That
It was a
was
rough
really
sermon. That's a
rough.
rough sermon, man.
Yeah, because it's true.
It's true.
Do you think guys are? Do you think men or women have more control over their emotions?
Men have
Yeah.
more,
Men have more control over their emotions. Okay.
well, men in my life.
What you got that face for?
I think women control different emotions better than men, and so we're different in what we can control.
Yeah.
Okay, give
That's
me
true.
like a quick example.
Well, I think women, I'll speak for myself.
Okay,
I have a
please.
tough time controlling frustration, being annoyed, easily
I've never
annoyed.
noticed. Never once.
She's like, let me show you what that's like.
And men, I just don't, you don't get annoyed or frustrated, it seems.
Doesn't that frustrate you more when he doesn't get frustrated?
Yeah, I mean, to some degree. Like, why don't you see it this way? Why don't, this is a big deal. So I don't know. I think we just control things different.
Do you agree with the statement though that you're responsible for your emotional countenance, that it's not just happening to you, it is a choice at some level?
Yes, I agree with that. But I do think emotions they can happen to you, and then it's our choice and decision to control that
Yeah.
and to mitigate that.
That's what we've been studying in
And
this
our
series.
reactions.
We've been saying like, hey, everybody has fear. There's good fear and bad fear, right? Like fear, when you lean in and go to a dark place, it can be bad. Like everybody has sorrow, right? There's good sorrow, bad sorrow. There's, we went through the list. Anger, there's good anger, bad anger. I mean, even the Bible says things like, in your anger, do not sin, right? So like, hey, we know you're going to get angry. That's human, but don't let it go to here, right? To the shrapnel mode. Everybody's getting destroyed.
Right.
Like there's that moment of like, hey, everybody's going through these emotions, and then how you deal with them and the way it affects the people you do life with is really your responsibility. You agree?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, we are masters of our domain. We should, technically, we should be able to do
Yeah.
that, depending on the circumstance, though. That's not always, technically a choice, but sometimes, depending on the circumstances, the reaction could come before the circumstances even processed.
Yeah.
Right.
So to speak,
Yeah.
someone who's quick to anger, or somebody who is, or a death, something that comes suddenly.
Yeah.
That's one of those things where, yes, you can choose how you respond, but your circumstance may not allow you to even be able to process that before you can respond.
Right.
So,
Sometimes it's happening so quick it
Right.
feels like it's out of your control.
exactly.
But the funny thing is, even though it feels like it, some of this is just an illusion, because there are plenty of people that go through the same set of circumstances and control their responses. So we know that at some level, it is about like your ability to look at a situation, to allow let me say it this way. don't you think that sometimes the way you deal with something, say whether it's traumatic or whether it's hard or whether it's a crushing blow or whether it's something that's totally frustrating, that the way you meet that moment is many times decided long before that moment ever happens.
Say that again?
The way you meet that moment of anger, the moment of sorrow, the moment of shock, whatever it is decided. That sometimes the outburst is decided long before that ever happens, meaning that if you're not taking care of your spirit, you're not taking care of your soul, you're not taking care of your mind, you're not feeding yourself spiritually, you're not growing up in your faith, you're not developing a sense of like personal devotional life and character and way you look at the world and all this, then yeah, we meet these moments and it feels very out of control, right? Like in that moment, it can just be like a
Right.
blow up. Does that sound fair or no?
I think so. I think different stages of life, that's more accurate, but
Tell me what you mean.
like for me personally, I think as an adult, then yes, I completely agree with
Okay.
that. But in different seasons of life, being a teen or a young adult, when things
Fair.
happen to you, you don't have those
Everything's in
tools.
development
I
then,
mean, you
yeah.
don't have the
Yeah.
tools.
The frontal
Frontal
lobe.
lobe. Oh
We're
my
back to the
God.
frontal lobe.
25 years old.
Yeah,
That thing
She's
ain't
like, I got
developed
this,
yet.
25.
yeah. And so it does feel very much out of control because we haven't learned those tools yet in some instances.
Yeah. So Sunday we were talking about surprising faith, and we were looking at surprise as like an emotion. We were talking about what it meant to have a surprising faith. I gave you two examples. I gave you the example of the centurion where Jesus finds this guy, and this guy has this kind of like, he's not a Jew. He has this kind of amazing faith about Jesus' ability to heal his servant, and says, you don't even need to come to my house. You don't need to say any rituals. You don't need to do anything. You just say the word, and it's done. And Jesus is like, that's the faith I'm looking for. And then he has this set of Jews in Nazareth that he's trying to minister to. They don't have any sense of faith or trust in him. And he's like, I'm surprised at your lack of faith. So it can either be great faith or a lack of faith. There can be this, Jesus has these surprising reactions to both of them. For you personally, and it's not meant to make you feel guilty or to make you feel like, to question your faith, but do you feel like you're developing a faith that's more prominent, that's more surprising to a worldly mindset than you have in the past? Like, or you feel like your faith is growing? I know that's a big question.
My faith surprises me.
Okay, surprises you.
Surprises me.
Okay, how so?
So there's moments of my life where I've, I would think I was going to react a certain way, and then all of a sudden I don't, or something, or I see something coming, and then once it does happen, I react differently than what I thought I was going to react to.
And you attribute that
And
to
I
your
attribute that
your
to my
faith journey,
to my faith
yeah,
journey,
yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Where like I would, I would feel a certain kind
You're
of
like
way.
the old Sam would have blown up on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've had moments like, like within the last year or two, that things have happened to me where I would have felt a certain way about them, and then I didn't do that, and I didn't do that because I felt like that's not what I needed to do. Like my faith brought me in a different direction.
Okay.
Make sense?
That is kind of a surprise. Yeah, okay, I think that's what we're talking about, right?
Okay.
Like, as compared to the way the world, I'd say the world, like,
We'll stay with the
the
world.
typical response
Yeah,
would
my
be,
where my typical response would have been something very different.
Yeah.
And because
The Facebook
response. And yeah, like my response wasn't what I thought it would have been.
okay.
And I take that towards my
Anybody else
My
surprised
faith.
by your sense of faith? Are you surprised by your faith?
I think
I love your honesty.
surprise faith, I like to think that I've kind of been on like a process that it waxes and wanes.
Okay,
Which
so
is
there's
what I
ebb
find
and a flow
myself,
to it.
yeah, that I find myself struggling with, which I wish it was more consistent.
Okay.
But what I find is that in certain seasons I have more of a surprising faith, and then in other seasons it's like, this is lackluster, not very surprising.
I'm on a,
Yeah. And
Down
then-
slope.
yeah.
Which is usually comes back to I'm not putting in the work, I'm not studying like I need to, I'm not, doing,
Taking care of your spirit.
yeah.
Okay, fair enough. How you feel?
So for me, the reaction is really a discipline, right? So if you practice, like piano, if you practice all the time, it's going to show results.
Okay.
And so, so it's a discipline. And and I work on it. I work on my anger. I work on my response. I work on my reaction, and it doesn't work.
It's always the same thing.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
I love your honesty.
I am so quick to temper, but I've never connected with my faith. I've never tried to correct it with my faith.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm surprised at my lack of faith.
Well, do you think I run into when we were doing in this series when we were talking about the issue of anger, we talked about that early on, I think week 2, and I spent a lot of time developing that out and saying that many times the things that we say are attributing to our anger is our inability to control outcomes. That's the frustrating part. Does that make sense? Like, we're not getting what we want to get out of our situation, our job, our kids, our whatever it is, or it could be a simple thing as a meal, right? If we don't get the outcome we want, we have this picture in our mind how it's supposed to go. It doesn't go that way. We have this kind of response like, Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Does that ring true for you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. But here's this is the kick in the pants, right? That's not an anger problem. Like, that's the symptom of the problem, but really that problem is a pride problem, right? It's like, I think I should be able to control all these outcomes. You know what I mean?
Because I want to control it all.
I want to control it all.
Everything.
I want to control
From
everything.
everything.
I want to control how this meal tastes, how this vacation's going to go, the college these kids are going to go to, the grades they're going to get.
The husband.
Yeah, the husband, the way he's going to react and treat me on my
Correct.
birthday, like all of it. I want to see it go. And I feel your pain on this because Kat knows this. I've said this 1,000 times. I do this with certain things, usually family vacations. Like, I have a picture of how it's going to go.
And then when it doesn't go that
And
way,
when it
you
doesn't
get
go
real
that way,
bummed.
I'm just so disappointed.
Yeah.
Right? I see us frolicking on the beach and just holding hands and being a family and taking the photo.
And
then
it's not the
then we're
case.
there
The
and the
Instagram
kid's sick
photo.
and I'm in the ER and she's mad.
One kid's pissed.
And the
yeah.
other kids are fighting with each other the whole way there. And
Yeah.
I'm like, just take me home.
Yeah. You're like, you ungrateful little turds. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So
That's life.
I think you're articulating a problem that all of us have at some level. It just may be that you think it's an anger problem, but the anger may be the symptom of the deeper problem, which is, hey, let your faith be pointed at, hey, should I even imagine I should control all these things? At some level, like, God's in control. I got to submit to him. Like, God's in control at the end of the day.
Yeah,
You never
I'm
had
not
control
there
to
yet.
begin with.
She's like, I want to be there,
Yeah, but I'm
gonna
not.
still hold on to a couple things.
She's like, I'm working on it.
I'm working on it.
Work in
but,
progress.
well, that's fair. That's fair. I think it's a work in progress, right? I think it'd be silly to say that we've all figured that out, even me, right? I think some of the deepest people of faith that I look up to are still working on that. That's a thing that's a lifelong deal, right? Hand it to God. Like, let God be in control. Submit to the idea that you're not always going to get the results you want the way you want. It's not always going to go your way. And that's just part of the human condition, is to get rid of that pride and surrender to him. And you'll be doing that. If you're working on that at 16, you're going to be working on that at 26, you're going to be working on that at 60, you're going to be working on that at 72. You know, it's never going to end. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. How about you?
Sounds exhausting.
She's like, oh God, you're just stressing me out just talking about it.
Well, here's the funny thing, right? Like, I don't want to push it too far. It does sound exhausting if you have to do it. But there is a freedom at some point to going, I don't
Let
know.
go
what-
and let God.
Let go and let God.
my gosh.
I don't know
Oh
what
my
the
gosh.
outcomes are all going to be.
Let go
Right.
and let God.
Right? Like, it feels stressful because you feel like you've got to have these certain reactions. But at some point, it may start with like, hey, let me stop trying to control my reaction and let me just work on trusting God. Let me just work on trusting that, like, it's going to work out for he's going to work it all out for my good, even if my kid doesn't go to Harvard, or my kid doesn't, or my family doesn't have the best vacation ever this time, or
You're stressing me out.
Listen, Ray tells me, okay, so my lovely husband, who has is in a way of saying things now that he never did before, where he spends a lot of time saying, I just got to keep my side of the street clean. That's what he tells me all the time.
Yeah.
He goes, don't worry, Sam. He's like, don't worry about stuff that you have no control over. He goes, just keep your side of the street clean. That's what he tells me all the time.
Yeah.
And most of the time, my response to him is, I don't give a damn about your side of the street and whatever you got going on. But on a normal, I mean, but then, you know, I always kind of go, you know what? I mean, he's 100% right. He always says, he's like, you just got to
He's got
keep.
that on tape now.
I know. He doesn't watch this. He's playing his game right now. He's not paying any mind to no Facebook. But he's always like, you know, you just got to keep your side of the street clean. He's like, and that's it. He's like, just keep, you know, just, you have no control over anything. And he tells, and I just saw a sign. You said, let go and let God. I saw a sign yesterday at Hobby Lobby, and I said, I need that sign, like right above my door in my house. It says, let go and let God. So as soon as I walk through the door, that's the first thing I see. So I just go, you know what? I don't have any control if my house is a disaster. I have no control over all that stuff. It has already happened. There's no sense in getting mad about it. I just need to start here and move forward.
Yeah.
Because that's what, a lot of times that's what we do, right? You get so frustrated or so mad about stuff that you really had no control over.
Yeah.
And then you just gotta let go and let
But
God.
you do.
Well, but I think you're right. I think let's.
So here's the example.
Yeah, go ahead.
Shai has an AP test, or had an AP test that he didn't study for. So I have control over that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I can
Make him study.
Yeah, but I couldn't. I don't even know what I'm
She's like,
saying anymore.
and that's why we're not talking.
And
That's it. That's exactly the reason.
you know? And so in my mind, he's going to not go to Harvard. He's
Right.
going to be a failure
Yeah,
for the rest of his life.
yeah.
And
She doesn't
so-
mean that, Shai. She doesn't mean that.
But you know, let's go back to this.
How'd
Let's
he
go-
do on the test?
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
how
you
did
gotta
he do?
finish this. How do you do on the test?
Flying colors.
Yeah.
We just found out.
So you just
today.
you get so worked
It
up
felt
and
irresponsible on my part because I didn't do what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know, I guess that's the let go and let God thing. It worked this time.
Well, you didn't really let go.
yeah, you didn't really. I don't think that let go, let go.
Let go. You stressed out. He pulled it off. It was great.
Yeah, and now you kind of and now he's going. Well, I got a decent grade. You know, I passed. But when the time comes, he's gonna be like, I passed, and you know.
Yeah, but I think at some level, like, I think the encouragement
You
is
hate that,
this. Two things, and it's not meant to heap any guilt on it. Because, look, parents have a tough job. We're trying to figure out how to balance, like, how to be a great parent and encourage the best outcomes and control what we can and encourage what we can and then let go when we know we can't, right? And that's that's a balancing act that's tough. I'm not saying it's not. But I think two things to keep in mind that I think are important here is, one, I think we get disappointed in ourselves when we have these kind of robust anger-based responses, especially when parenting or with job or with sometimes with spouses and all that kind of stuff. And I think you got to stop and go, okay, I'm not going to fix this by managing my symptoms, right? I got to get to the root. And the root is at some level, I got to keep going back to faith. I got to go back to God. I got to trust Him. I got to pray. I got to think on His power. I got to put my hope in Him, right? Like it's less focused on like, oh, let me get the right outcomes. I got to be a good person, and more like, God, help me to grow my faith and just trust you, because obviously I don't all the time, right? Like just start there with the simple stuff. And I think the second thing is that at some point, whether it's at some point you move as a parent through these seasons of life where if a kid's 5, yeah, you're controlling all the outcomes for the most part, right? But if a kid's 15 or 16, at some point, part of our job as parents is to give them more and more leash to make the mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And I know we catastrophic, envision everything. Every one mistake's going to lead to like homelessness or like serial killer.
Not going to Harvard.
Yeah, or like lack of Harvard, right? But like it's not, it's not. And sometimes you got to remember your job isn't to create the valedictorian at Harvard. It's to create the type of person, right, who can move through life and experiences, and it's the type of person you'll be proud of. Right?
That went to Harvard.
Whether they're Harvard, or whether they're Florida State, or whether they're Valencia, or whether they go to a trade
Whatever.
school.
Right,
It
right,
doesn't.
doesn't
At
matter.
some level, your
Right.
job is to raise a great human,
Yeah.
right? And part of raising a great human is to have a great relationship. You know what I'm saying? And part of that is to go, hey, at some point, bro, I can't follow you off to Harvard and make sure you take your tests and do your things. At some point, I got to give you enough, and you'll know when that time's right. You'll know when that time is right. But that's a tough role as a parent. All of us are in that.
You feel beat up.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
14-year-olds.
Yeah, because they're awful. They're awful. Those guys are killing us.
Yeah.
They're killing us. Those kids are killing us. You know what I mean? Are you with me on this?
But it seems like they're, I mean, at any age, they're, if it's not one thing, it's something else. It's
Yeah,
always.
it just changes.
It's just the different
Right.
things change. They're killing us from the jump, right from the jump, and then it just keeps.
Well, and the other thing you have to ask yourself, and every parent does this too, Justin, it's not just you, it's me, and it's Kat, it's everybody. There's pride wrapped up in this, right? We want our kid to succeed at a certain level because it reflects on us
Yep, I
at a
agree.
certain level. So we've got pride in the game too that has to be surrendered to God and going, look, I want what's best for my kid. I want to push him to do the best he can do. And you got smart kids. I want to push them to be successful and do the best that they can do. But it's got to be for the right reasons. It can't be just because it's my dream for them or it's my expectation for them or it's my pride wrapped up in them. It's got to be for their benefit. It's got to be for their, health and character and all that kind of stuff. And you know where those lines are. We get out of whack all the time for that. I do.
All the time.
You do it, all that kind of stuff. It's tough. It's a tough deal. Brutal. But all that to say, focus on faith, not on trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Let
if you try
go.
to fix it, it's like a leaky dam. You'll just be putting your finger in all the different holes, and you'll never get it fixed. You know what I'm saying? Just focus on trusting God and
Let go, let go.
let go and let go. All right?
I think that's gonna
That's
be
really-
like my
You
new.
can go back
Yeah.
to Hobby Lobby and get that?
I'm telling
Yeah.
you,
Get one for all of us, will you?
I'm for real.
Okay, let's do it. All right, guys. As far as we can go for tonight, listen. Thank you so much to these ladies for joining us tonight. We love you. Mean it. We'll see you Sunday.